CSL. I shouldn't think
Plus.
this would be happening again, did you?
Yeah,
Been a minute.
we are back. It's been a long time. You know,
Been a long time.
we've done a lot since then, and
I have hair.
yeah, long hair that hopefully may get cut.
It's gonna get cut in a month.
Yeah, it's about time.
I know.
The flow ran its course. Got to get you one of these. You got to go see my boy Crispy. You can get you a little half moon crescent fade right here.
I don't think that's gonna work on me.
You can get the fade up top.
What if I get like one of those headbands and it just lifts it up and it's like a early 2000s Messi or Beckham
I
ordeal?
think you should just do a straight like.
It's like a faux hawk to begin with when it's short.
Yeah, I mean you might as well bring it back. It's 2026.
Man,
We're going back to 2016 and 06 if you want. I know you were.
is that called a throwback?
10 years?
Getting old.
And it is.
2016.
Yeah, 2016. It was a good year.
You know what else is a good year? 2026
It
for
is.
your Charlotte
It
Hornets.
definitely is.
What a tear they're on. Currently sitting in the play-in position.
Yep.
They got to get up to 6. They got to get up to
Close.
6.
Only 2 games back right now.
Right. But let's talk about the scenarios that might possibly happen.
For sure.
You get to 6, you're in the playoffs, you get a little break,
Yeah.
and there's really not much to worry about except for you're gonna play 5.
For
We
sure.
know you're gonna play 5.
Yeah.
Now, when we get into the play-in situation, we're now 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yep.
7 plays 8. The loser of that plays the winner of 9, 10.
Yep.
The Hornets can't be 9, 10 because then you only get one chance.
You only get one shot.
right.
Now, you could be 9 because that one shot would be at home. I think anything but because you would have the home crowd behind you,
I
but
get
you don't
that.
want to be in that game
But
regardless.
Charlotte's never had that advantage until about, let's be honest, 3 months ago.
True. Yeah.
And now that the team is winning, the fans are there. But that's beside the fact.
Right. You
They're
still
in
want
a
to give
position
yourself
right
2
now.
chances if you can.
Exactly. And being in that 7-8 game, even if you're on the road, the Hornets have been playing like they can beat
They
anybody.
have. Well, I mean, if you think about it, low-key playing better on the road than they have been at home.
They have.
When
They
you think
have.
about that streak that they went on, I think a franchise record about 8 or 9 consecutive road wins. So it's like they've shown that they can get it done when they're not here. And now that you have the home crowd coming out, that's certainly a good recipe too. But if they do have to go on the road the first time, I think that would bode well. But you'd like to be in the 7th spot. That way you really got one shot, you get it at home, and then you're able to have a little bit of rest.
Who's someone that you want to see? For instance,
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get to that 6th seed. I think the
I don't think
Atlanta
so. That's
Hawks are
tough.
too dang good right
Yeah.
now. They're too dang good. What if they can get to that 7 or 8? Who do you not want to see?
Don't want to see Boston.
You don't want to see
Boston currently
Oh,
in that
no.
in that 2nd spot. If they are at 7, that would be, just a tough matchup.
No,
for
I'm
them.
talking about playing.
Or the play-in. I think. Well, if you're in the play-in, I think
It's either going to be Toronto, Philly, Orlando, or Miami. Who of those teams? Who do you not want to see in that playing game?
I would probably say Philly. Just from the last time
Really?
that we saw, just from the last time that we saw them out, a Philly team at full strength gave them a lot of issues.
You see the face?
Yeah.
As a man who
Yeah.
is, and if you've watched our show before, then you know I am born and raised Philly. I am 215 until I die. I am all aboard the 704 train. But good God, the Sixers are booty. Absolute booty if they don't have them beat in the lineup. Even when they have them beat in the lineup, there is
Look at the last time we saw
some
them play each
cracks
other.
in that squad.
There are.
Daryl Morey's a liar.
But you're only
Elton Brand is a face of lost opportunity.
you're
Philly?
you're only as good as your last game. Look what we saw out of a healthy Philly team, a fully healthy Philly team.
fully healthy Philly
Yeah,
team.
the last time that they played the Hornets. I mean, that's the thing. Those guys are back in the lineup, and we saw those are some tough matchups.
They brought that down to the wire, though.
They did.
And if a couple calls go Charlotte's way,
It's a different
we're not
ballgame.
sitting having this conversation right now. Now, if I'm in that spot, I don't want to see Miami. There's too
Miami's
much
a tough one.
history.
Yeah.
When Bam had a bye, look, the last couple
That's the
times
thing.
Hornets have
we
played.
we didn't see Bam the last
haven't
time,
seen Bam
especially that was
Adebayo.
fresh off the 83-point game that he had.
Lord.
So I think, that's definitely a good point too. A healthy Bam, if we would have seen them, because it was even a tight game the last time they played too. I think Orlando, that's a team that
an easy win in my
that
opinion.
they match up well with. Even Toronto, I believe, is another team that they certainly would have a good,
We the North.
solid matchup as well.
Yeah.
I think now if you get past that, I mean, that's obviously wishful thinking, but if you're able to make it into obviously the playoffs,
Right.
I think Boston would be one of those teams currently in that
There,
two
I'll
spot
agree
that you wouldn't
with.
want to see.
What's a tougher opponent, Boston or New York? Because I think
I'd
Boston.
I'd still say Boston.
No, I'm going to go with New York just based off of Jalen Brunson when it comes to playoff time. Is unbeatable.
He hits a different gear.
Josh Hart.
You never know what you're gonna get out of him. Some nights you could get
Playoff Josh Hart's a different
You
man.
could get a triple double. Some nights you could get not much of anything when it comes to.
But what about when all three of them are together with Cat when healthy?
It's a dangerous squad. I still think I'm more worried about Boston, though, when you think about just how complete they are, especially with Tatum coming back from his injury, and certainly doesn't look like he's
and all
missed a
those
step
shoe commercials with
Yeah.
Little Dicky. Oh, Lord.
I think now, I know they're the 1 seed. Detroit, though, I think they could give Detroit a series if it comes down to it. I think
A lot of people are saying
honestly,
that, but
out
Cade
of all those
Cunningham
teams,
has to be healthy for them
that
to
is true.
not
We do
have
know
that
he's
conversation.
out for at least another week. We did learn that. And they obviously play them in the home finale coming up next Friday. I still think of those 3 teams that are towards the top, that's probably who they match up the best with, and probably a team that they possibly could go 6, maybe even 7 games. I don't know if a series goes that far with the New York or with the Boston if they're able to get either the 6 or the 7. Now, if you're in the 6th spot, the extra rest could help, but I still think that's going to be a tough matchup for them.
Well, here we are getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
I honestly believe the Hornets will be in that 7th spot.
Yeah.
Rather, the 8th spot.
The 8th spot, yeah.
I think they'll be in the 8th
at.
spot. I'm thinking 7 because they have to win that game to get the
For sure, yeah.
NBA. You're a confusing place. But this is
All the tournaments and everything that we have now, it's just,
don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
We do not need the NBA Cup. We do not need it. All these in-season tournaments are so
Adam
stupid.
This is Adam Silver's NBA, man. Put him in
But
the
it
tournament.
trickled down to everything else.
Yeah.
He's a trendsetter. Look, there's one for hockey, or
True.
we'll have the hockey one soon enough.
Yep.
Um,
I think the football, I mean, we potentially could see something down the line. I don't want to. I know there's obviously talks about adding
one
more
in
to the regular
NASCAR.
season. Yeah, that
the
is true.
NASCAR one was
It was
okay.
I mean, it
the
kind of
fact that it came down to Ty Gibbs and Ty
that's
Gillen.
the thing. It lost its luster once all the
Are we
top
really talking
drivers-
about Adam Silver being responsible for the rise of Ty Gibbs? And
I mean, look at him now. We'll get to
No,
racing in a
forget
little bit, but the guy's doing his thing so
going
far.
back to my original point,
Yes.
I think they'll be in the 8th spot
Yeah.
when it comes all said and done. I think
Playing,
this
yeah.
team is too hot right now. I think Charles Lee is the perfect motivator for the team that
He
they
is.
have right here. But when you look at the guys on the court every day, is the emotional leader on the court Brandon Miller, or is it LaMelo Ball?
I'd still say Brandon. When you talk about just galvanizing the troops and a guy that has shown, leadership beyond his years, I would say he's still the guy. Now, it's been great to see, a fully healthy LaMelo, but I still think there's certain, just antics about his game and even off the court as well. I just don't know if he's fully ready to be that guy that they look to. Obviously, the talent is there, but when you think about a vocal leader, a guy that's going to lead by example, Brandon Miller's really been that guy for this team. And you can even look at an even younger guy, what Concanible's been able to do so
Con's
far.
been phenomenal.
I think they've really been, just kind of, grabbing the bull by the horns, rather, especially Con in his first year.
Unintended.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those are the 2 guys that I
True.
think are going to take this team into the future. But obviously, LaMelo's talent is there. But I think emotionally wise, I'd still say Brandon, even a guy that's been here and done that. A guy like Miles Bridges, too.
All right. Well, let's talk more Hornets when we're back in a little bit.
Back here on CSL Plus, Gabe McDonald, Christian out here holding it down, talking a little bit of hoops and a little bit of racing as well. Just talked a lot about the Hornets, playoff, play-in scenarios, and just, guys that have really contributed well and been leaders for this team. I think you got to look no further than a guy like Con Canipple. I mean, everybody saw, what he did in college. They thought his ceiling, there wasn't really much room for him to grow, and you just look at what he's been able to do so far this year. I mean, this guy.
He wasn't even the man on that Duke squad.
He wasn't.
That was Cooper Flagg's
you had,
team.
You had Cooper Flagg and a lot of other guys, too, that are doing their thing in the league, but he's really come in and made an instant impact. And I know he's just a rookie, and you think about all the other additions that they've made, but you got to look at the success of this team. You really have to take, what he's been able to do into account as far as them having the growth that they've been able to have so far.
Listen to this. He's played in 75 games as a rookie. How many people in Charlotte in the
Best
past
ability
couple-
is availability.
That is correct.
And he's shown that.
He's got 48.2% from the field.
He's been balling, man.
I mean,
And leading the entire league in 3 so far. I mean, he's just been
as a rookie.
Yeah.
You know how much his rookie card is? Sorry, his Duke signed card is going for at that new Replay Sports in South End.
Probably a hefty amount, I would think. I'd say about maybe close to $3 bills.
No. Up.
More?
It's currently going for $550 for a signed 50 of 50
Yeah.
Duke card.
Hey,
Not even rookie card from the Hornets.
If somebody got the bread for it, go spend that.
Dude, listen, he's got 31 minutes per game.
Yeah.
18.8 points per game. 6.4 field goals made. He's got 483 field goals made in the entire season. I mean, this guy has just been an absolute spark plug.
Yeah.
And especially for a team, let's be honest, the Hornets have absolutely been terrible behind the arc
They have been
for a long time. The whole team's been terrible for a long time.
It's
But Con was exactly the right. And I remember 2 years ago? Remember when we were all at God, there was a bar and there's Pinehurst.
Penthouse.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why couldn't I come up? I'm thinking of Pinehurst.
Yeah.
I want to go golfing. 2 years ago when they drafted Brandon Miller.
Boo! Yeah, we saw
everywhere because
everybody wanted Scoot at that time. Yep.
Man, what a turnaround.
Exactly.
And this is all from Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff Peterson's been.
Everybody. From
would you say that Jeff Peterson's been the savior of this franchise?
I mean, he's definitely up there. I mean, you got to look at the ownership group too. I mean, everybody from the
Rich
top.
Nall,
look at what Rick and Gabe have been able to do, and then you bring in Jeff, and just I think having
and they've been noticeable every night sitting on the court.
Yeah,
they're there every freaking night. We take notice of these things.
That's what fans want to see, and that's what players want to see as well. They want to see. Are the guys that are up top, are they invested into what we're doing on the court? And they've certainly shown that. I think that's obviously also been another big motivating factor as well.
Well, the guy who gave up ownership to those guys,
yeah,
he's winning in another sport.
Yes.
Now we're going to get to that shortly, but first things first.
Yeah.
It's the O'Reilly Series weekend. The Cup Series is off for Easter. So on Saturday, it's going to be all about the O'Reilly Series. And there's one guy who's absolutely dominating right now. And of course, it's a JRM car.
So
the 7 of Justin Allgaier, one of the nicest dudes you will ever meet. And this is a guy who knows how to attack every point of a track. We were talking to him earlier this week. He says that when you're racing at Rockingham, it's still very, very grippy because remember, they just had a repave. $4.4 million went into bringing this track back to life.
Hopefully we see Cup there eventually at some point.
I don't think I want to see Cup there.
You wouldn't?
No.
I mean, I guess with the current package, maybe at short tracks.
Maybe if we boosted up the horsepower, maybe like somewhere.
Everybody would love
Everyone wants that. I think I want to see something in the 800s.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are going to be like, all right, that's literally going to be impossible. Especially for how much it costs to just do it and everything now, because I believe Steve O'Donnell, NASCAR president,
pretty hefty. I remember
he said something about $5 million per team just to do that. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. How is that even possible?
Hefty investment,
and
especially
then you look
for a lot of teams that maybe don't have the same resources as others.
Now, could a lower team like an Alpha Prime, like a Jordan Anderson Racing, like an AM Racing isn't even going racing this weekend because their car got so banged up last week. They have no entry. Nick Sanchez without a ride this week. He's going to have to get a waiver to compete for
the playoffs.
For the playoff,
for missing this race,
and now that we're back to the chase format, these smaller teams are fighting even harder to get in.
1 week can make or break your entire season.
And the cool thing about Rockingham is everyone can lead laps here because there's that new pavement. It's all built on speed. Everyone's dive bombing in those corners.
The corners are pretty. It's going to be pretty tricky this week.
It's going to be crazy. And when it comes to Rockingham, remember last year we had Jesse Love as a winner for about an hour.
Yep.
And then he was
disqualified.
Sammy Smith, who has been phenomenal as well at JRM.
Going to be certainly in contention to get it done this weekend.
Well, Junior Motorsports has won 5 races in a row. 2 of them have been Cup Series drivers, though.
They got a lot of dogs.
Who do you like this weekend?
I got to go with the OG. I mean, you talked about him. I mean, it's tough to bet against Allgaier, and I think it's good to still have a strong veteran voice at that level with so many young guys that are still cutting their
children.
Teeth. Yeah, exactly. I think
children.
It's important for them to have a guy that's been there and done that knows, just the history, the tradition of the series to kind of help a lot of the guys along, especially a lot of his teammates who are younger as well. I think it's tough to bet against him. Just, it's a guy that knows that track well. And I mean, that team is obviously going to put a lot of resources into this weekend like they have the entire season to get it done for him. But I think you can't rule out the RCR cars. We know how strong they are at this track. And
Austin Hill, Jesse Love, but there's a third RCR car this weekend.
Mr. Cletus McFarland. What a story that is. I think some people feel a certain way about it. I think it's a little bit of a gimmick, so to speak, on the sport. But it's like you want to get more. You want to get more eyes on the sport, and I just don't know if this is where he should be making his debut at that level. Because
first of all, strategic by NASCAR.
He only made it 5-6 laps in the Truck Series at Daytona.
He only made it 6 before crashing.
Yeah, like what do you think he's going to do this weekend in an O'Reilly car,
which is much harder to drive than a Truck Series car.
Right.
Now with Cletus, I admire what he's trying to do.
Yeah,
all right, I really do.
You got to respect. You got to respect that.
He's bringing more attention to the sport
for sure
on a weekend where there is no Cup. O'Reilly is the main event.
Right. And a lot of those guys aren't necessarily really big names to the masses, so to speak.
So why not give him another crack in the trucks? RCR called him. Right. So this is what I still think this is a NASCAR plot.
Yeah.
That's just me. RCR calls him and says, will you drive our 33? He goes, of course I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. I've talked to 3 other O'Reilly Series drivers who will remain anonymous.
Yeah.
I can talk. I do this for a living. One said that this guy is now the Jake Paul of racing.
Do we want it to get to that point? Do we really want the sport to have
Another
that?
guy said, I hope he makes the best of this opportunity because this is the biggest stage he'll ever have.
Yeah. I mean, main event weekend where they are the big show. Yeah.
The third guy laughed in my face, said, see you later. I hope he makes the best of this because
I hope he finishes the race. That's the main thing. If he can complete,
even in the back half.
If he can complete every lap, I think that's a win.
Now, this dude is no slouch when it comes to racing.
Yeah.
He's placed top 10 in ARCA. So he knows how to drive a car.
True. Well, I know how to drive a dang car.
You sure about that? I've seen you drive.
I think I can do pretty well. Now, those cars, maybe not, but you know.
Well, we got more to talk about in the Cup Series coming up next on CSL Plus. We are back on CSL Plus where we have more NASCAR to talk about. Christian Audi, Gabe McDonald. We don't see the Cup Series for another week, but when we come back, it's the last great
Bristol, baby.
It's Bristol, baby. Yeah, I've heard Casey Funderburg say that no less than 10 times in the last hour.
I mean, she's a Tennessee gal. So
she's a Tennessee gal. Yeah. So when we come back, though, the short track racing, it's the last one we'll have for a couple weeks. Yeah. We've been on this short track trend. We're going to see guys like Denny, guys like Blaney, Byron, Larson. Those are the big four going into the weekend. Yeah. Why is Bristol such a strong suit for these guys?
I mean, you got to think it boils down. It's a complete team effort. I mean, it's tire strategy. When you think about a couple of years ago in the spring race, I mean, they ate through the tires. And you look at a guy like Kyle Larson that led 400 plus laps in one of the races that he's raced there. And I think those are guys that obviously, have a lot of short track experience. And you think about those teams that have historically always been good. I mean, you think about Hendrick and a lot of the wins that they have, and Denny Hamlin, that's kind of his wheelhouse. Those tracks that are closer to home. You think about Martinsville, how many laps he led, and ultimately pit strategy kind of helped Chase Elliott get the win.
Pit's crazy there. You got to go the whole way around it.
That's the thing, because you pit on both sides, so that's going to be a big thing as well. But those guys, they've just been there and done that. And I think if the winner is not one of those four guys, I'd be pretty surprised next weekend when we see them get back.
There's only one other guy with multiple short track wins in the next gen area, and that's Mr. Austin Dillon, who won both of his at Richmond. Now, the team I'm looking at is the 12.
Yeah.
And not so much to win, because Ryan Blaney statistically right now has the last place pit crew team, which is a wild departure from what he normally has.
Exactly.
They've already
they've been able to overcome that adversity a lot of weekends. I mean, you look at the Phoenix win. I mean, they had multiple issues that weekend, and he still pulled it out.
Just 2 weeks after that, I believe they replaced an over-the-wall guy. I don't know if it was a tire changer or a jack man. I'll have to check my notes on that, but I'm pretty sure it was a jack man.
Yeah. And normally you don't see those kind of issues out of any of the Team Penske teams.
I mean, Penske's so steady. And they're by the mark. I mean, no one wants to upset the captain.
For sure.
Roger Penske, is you and I have learned.
They're all about doing things the right way and limiting mistakes. That's why they've been so good for so long.
The whole Penske operation's insane. Yeah. Like you and I have seen it firsthand, especially in Phoenix.
the older Patriots.
I would argue that's that's pretty good. But you and I saw it firsthand in Phoenix. We're sitting literally a table away from their entire front office, and everyone gravitates to the captain. But they keep their distance because you don't talk to him unless he talks to you.
Exactly. Don't speak unless spoken to.
True. But Bristol also has one of the coolest trophies when you win there. That sword. I got a couple buddies who have a couple swords in their house.
What guys do with those things? All
right, so for one person,
did they go jousting with them afterwards?
I would hope you wear armor with that because they are sharp.
Yes.
They are not just leather openers.
Or you can use the shield that Allgaier got in Phoenix. Boom.
He's putting together his own super group of trophies to protect him from the zombie apocalypse.
It's gonna be like Thanos.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, I know a couple of my friends do have swords from Bristol. Mm-hmm. They are on display in their house, and I've held a couple. They are real swords, dude.
You get them signed by Randy Jackson of American Idol?
Stop. I knew you were gonna. Why do you got to keep going down that route?
Classic movie.
I know.
And you're not going to not get your sword signed by Randy Jackson.
That's true.
If you get a sword from Bristol, even though he probably has no ties to the track.
What's the better racing movie, Talladega Nights or Days of Thunder?
I saw the start bench cut. Because Days of Thunder came out 7 years before I was born, Talladega Nights. I mean, it's iconic.
You're a child.
I am.
But Talladega Nights came out when I was in high school.
Yeah, so. I was 9. What, 06? Yeah, I was 9. I was not even thought of when Days of Thunder
I was 18 years old.
The guy's old. He's ancient.
I don't have any grays, though. No, I got some on my channel because you and
I got
your
a
cohorts
couple
give it to me.
in the beard. They're just my wisdom. That's what I refer to it as.
So let's look at some of the lesser teams. We're not talking about the Gibbs. We're not talking about the Penske's. We're not talking about the Hendrick. Who are we looking at Bristol that's going to catch our eye?
I think RFK could. I think they've been
running great.
They've been on the roll. All three of those cars. You look at Brad, you look at Ryan Preece, you look at Chris Buescher. I think, they're due to get one of those guys into victory lane. And I think, those are guys that have, some short track prowess as well. I think
Brad has won a ton of short tracks before the next gen package.
And I think, that's a team that we're going to see them.
I don't think we're supposed to say next gen anymore.
True. The current gen, I guess.
Gen 7?
Yeah, Gen 7 car. Yeah, whatever they want to call it. But I think RFK is definitely a team to look at. I think they could possibly win multiple races when you think about going to, Talladega coming up. You look at Bristol as well. I think that's a team that we should certainly be looking at to possibly, make even more strides than they already have.
I'll give you one, and you're going to call me a little crazy. Spire.
Honestly, that's not too far. You got McDowell. Nobody wants to mess with Hurricane Hocevar. I mean,
that's the main reason. Hocevar's been running in the top 10 for weeks.
Yep.
He's been steady in there. He hasn't been ticking people off like he normally does.
Well, look at last week.
Look, I said like he normally does.
Yeah.
The Hurricane is on track to be a star. Like, he's on the same blueprint as Ross Chastain.
Yes.
You have to look at what.
One of his mentors, I think he said they spent a lot of time.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
Ross ticked off a lot of people with the way he drove, and he had to learn how to drive in the Cup Series.
Mm-hmm.
The Hurricane comes in, does, I would say, arguably more than what Ross did in that era.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's had to defend himself a couple times, but he's never had to throw fists in pit lane like Ross has.
Yeah.
Now, when you add in Mr. Daniel Suarez, close personal friend, Mr. Daniel Suarez, who we've both beaten in pickleball.
True. McDowell, savvy veteran as well.
Great at super speedways, has a ton of speed during qualifying, still has to figure out how to put it together on race day.
Yeah.
And the three of them together, one of them is going to figure it out and give that team the boosts
that they need. Yeah.
I still think they're one piece off. I think one of those drivers might be on his way, and they'll bring in another piece, and that will be Spire, and they're going to take off.
You can see possibly in the future, an O'Reilly guy possibly make the move up because they've always been about, getting young talent. Now,
it hasn't always worked out, though.
True. And it's like, who really is that guy that we're looking at to make that move? I mean, you could look at, certain guys that maybe are ready that aren't necessarily ready yet. I think, that still remains to be seen. But like I said, I thought it was going to come last year. Carson's going to get a win this year. I don't know where.
You said literally for 6 months around the track that
it's coming this year. I know it didn't happen last year. I think we could see him in victory lane by season's end, though.
We got about 30 seconds left here, so I'll leave you with this thought.
Yeah.
If Carson Hocevar wins, are you saying it's going to be on a super speedway or a mile and a half?
I could see him getting it done. He'll get lucky on a super speedway, I think.
I think McDowell wins on a super speedway before Carson wins on a line.
Okay.
All right.
We'll see if it happens.
We can make a side bet off there.
We definitely can. Cool.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.